Welcome to Albums Out of 100. This is a music review channel where albums are given a standardised mark, unsurprisingly, out of 100. And yes, it is I. Ready your hate mail, for I have returned. You're currently listening to a review of the album My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West. The album is available on Spotify, so if you want to listen along with the review, give it a search there. And remember, what follows is all true and has been proven by science. It was homeopathy, but I think I can still count that. The artist is Kanye West, and I honestly don't think I have to introduce him to all of you, but I'm going to do it anyway. He first came to prominence as the producer of Jay-Z's critically acclaimed album, The Blueprint, and his first effort as a rapper, The College Dropout, was the first of many critical and commercial successes for the rapper. Kanye's albums have often received acclaim, and even his least lauded effort, 2008's electropop autotune album, 808s and Heartbreak, still received a very warm reception. Kanye has often been noted for his fantastic production as well as his innovation and creativity in his work. Be it the overblown maximalism of this record or the Death Grips-esque industrial flavour of this year's Yeezus, Kanye has always seemed to be able to produce catchy songs while retaining a high degree of ingenuity and artistic integrity. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is widely considered to be Kanye's masterpiece, and it came as a result of his self-imposed exile after the fiasco at the 2009 MTV Music Awards in the middle of what seemed to be a meltdown for Kanye. For those of you who don't know, Kanye went up on stage and interrupted the producer of some of the most avant-garde musical masterpieces of our generation, Taylor Swift, when she was receiving an award. I'll give you the abridged version. Arsehole interrupts idiot with something idiotic at some idiotic music awards. And there you have it. Anyway, this album is almost universally beloved by critics, and has appeared on numerous Best of 2010 lists. It's seen as more of an analysis of his ego and the concept and effects of fame, rather than just another formulaic hip-hop outing in which the artist strives to tell us how many prostitutes he had sex with his penis, which he swears is over 14 inches even in the coldest weather. The track list is 1. Dark Fantasy, 2. Gorgeous, 3. Power, 4. All of the Lights Interlude, and 5. All of the Lights, 6. Monster, 7. So Appalled, 8. Devil in a New Dress, 9. Runaway, 10. Hell of a Life, 11. Blame Game, 12. Lost in the World, and 13. Who Will Survive in America. The genre is hip-hop, and it was released in November 2010. Now, let's get to it. Album cover. Now, first off, I don't like the fact that this cover gets replaced by the ballerina cover so frequently. We don't have any time for any kind of censorship on this channel, and if you're offended by this image, go and type in Death Grips, No Love Deep Web into Google. Go on, I'll wait for you. Yes, you did just see the album title written on a man's erect penis, so it could be a lot worse. Anyway, back on with the review. Now, considering the image that Kanye gives on this LP, which is drinking, sex and general excess, I think this complements the album perfectly. Even the regal deep red and gold trimming hints at luxury and opulence. However, the image in the middle is distinctly bitter, it isn't pleasant, and it does look quite sad. I don't think the Kanye on this cover, despite his toothy grin, is a happy one. This really is his dark, twisted fantasy, as it were. 5 out of 5. Listening experience and lyrical analysis. Track 1. Dark Fantasy. This track opens with a narration from Nicki Minaj. She's speaking in that stupid, irritating accent she does, and it just seems to scream, Oh, look at me, everyone! Look at how quirky and individual and against the grain I am! No one cares, Nicki. Shut the fuck up. Personal vendettas aside, however, the intro is very good, and if it were done by anyone else, I'd probably really like it. This is just my personal hate of Nicki Minaj, so I will give her this one. Still a bitch, though. Anyway, in interest in keeping the, albeit meagre amount of professionalism we have on this channel, I'll carry on with a proper review. So, I'd like to answer the question this track puts forth. Can we get much higher? Well, if this is the standard you're giving us, Kanye, that might be tricky for you, because this song is nothing short of killer, and it begins a frequent tradition on the LP of earworm hooks. And the gospel choir is a great effect. It feels cacophonous, and it showcases Kanye's stellar production perfectly. His rapping is fantastic, and there are a few standout verses, however none so much as this particular one. To me, this is Kanye lamenting the controversies of last year, talking of wanting to respark the soul and restart the memory. This is him wanting to move on and forget everything. This isn't feeble bragging, this is intelligent, and I like it. Track 2. The LP carries on with the aptly named Gorgeous. Once again, the production here is A-grade, and this track has a hook that threatens to stick in your head all day, sung by Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi? Kid Cudi? QD? Could die? Oh, whatever. Anyway, Kanye's voice here is slightly distorted, and the whole track has this fog of blurry static over it. However, the effect is really great, and considering the possibility for it to end up annoying, is just a testament to how well Kanye produces music. The lyrics here seem to deal, at least in part, with racism. Some pretty serious accusations are thrown around, such as Jerome getting more jail time than Brandon, and Kanye's bags being checked at the airport under the guise of it being random. A rhyme. Hip-hop sure is great. And in one verse, Kanye actually accuses the government of trying to give black people AIDS. Don't look at me that way, I'll show it you. However, not all the lyrics are up to scratch, as we see here. Kanye, we need to talk. They called you a gay fish, mate. Get over it. I don't know whether this is meant to be a little joke, but if it's serious, then it's weird. And you're weird. So stop. Because you're being a gay fish right now. Track 3. Power. Now, this was the lead single from the album, and it sports better production, better lyrics, and basically better everything than Gorgeous. It features a repeated sample from a song by the prog rock band King Crimson that repeatedly wails 21st century schizoid man. The lyrics here deal with Kanye's attitude towards fame and ego. He talks of embodying every characteristic of the egotistic, before saying with an audible hint of venom, he knows he's so fucking gifted. It doesn't sound like bragging, quite the opposite actually. There seems to be derision and sarcasm in that lyric. He frequently switches between loudmouth proclamations and carefully hidden vulnerability. He tells a woman how he doesn't need her, and how he's not got a power trip, before then, after rejecting her, asking her who she's going home with. It's this balance that makes a song feel like a purposeful facade, rather than an actual attempt to impress anyone. The hook, "No one man should have all that power," is repeated. And you know what, Kanye? I agree with you. No one man should have all the power to reduce the media to a damn fit for interrupting Taylor Swift at a pointless award show by a sellout channel. I really hope your childlike creativity, purity and honesty don't get too crowded, Kanye. If you carry on with your derisive lyrics about the media, then I think it's essential you win your internal custody battle. Track 4. This song is just an interlude to lead into the next song. I won't spend too long here, but suffice to say, it's a nice prelude for the coming storm, and the interlude does its job as a simultaneous palate cleanser and an appetizer. Track 5. All of the Lights. Boom. Voices and trumpets and synth coming from absolutely everywhere, right off the bat. This track has a great beat and yet another earworm hook. It's easily the most bombastic so far, and it's a genuine joy to listen to. There are many featured artists here, although I fail to understand why there has to be so many on one track. When it comes to rapping, there's simply no one as interesting as Kanye on this entire album, and yes, that does include Jay-Z. Some samples and guests, though, are used to stunning effect, and more on that later in the album specifically. However, I don't mind about the large amount of featured artists here. I just think that maybe Kanye should put himself more in the limelight. I mean, he doesn't have any trouble with that in the media. Still, though, this track is very, very good, and the featured artists do complement it well. The lyrics in this song tell a story about a husband and father who finds his wife cheating and scuffles with a new man. He's then forbidden from seeing his daughter, and throughout the rest of the song worries about her and his life now. And then he tries to reconcile with his wife and daughter. The theme is very good and the story is compelling. However, there are better songs on this album about bad relationships, but more on that later. Track 6. Monster. Justin Vernon? Is that you? Oh my god, what have they done to you, Justin? Hold on, Justin, I'll get you out. Oh, wait, that sounds good. Oh my, it's not bad. It's pretty cool! Oh, thank God for that! On a personal note, though, I love Bon Iver, and it's great to see Justin's voice put to good use. Justin Vernon has an absolutely incredible voice, for those of you who don't know, and the effects on him make him sound like a true monster, and this is some of the best featuring on the album. Not the best, but, once again, getting ahead of myself. The introducing rap verse by Rick Ross is some of the catchiest on the whole album, and it makes a brief but stellar highlight of this track, if not, again, the whole album. The track for me has been a pure grower, and when I first heard the album, it was probably one of my least favourites, however it's since shown its true colours. The beat is completely irresistible, and the simplicity of this track when compared to the songs preceding it makes it feel in equal parts essential as brilliant. Between dark fantasy, power and all the lights, I feel like I've been smashed round the head with a hammer constructed of excess, and that's by no means a bad thing, but it's still nice to calm things down a bit. The hook by Kanye talks about how everyone should stop gossiping about him, since everyone already knows he's a monster. There is bragging here, but once again, I feel like it's Kanye being slightly coy. He's acting like a monster by boasting for the track. He's being what the public want and expect him to be. Considering the nature of this track, the boasting does feel quite apt, and it remains firmly in tongue-in-cheek territory. It doesn't feel like Kanye's being entirely serious here, and as such it adds a nice playful touch to the dark primal beats. And Jay-Z here is very surprising with a brilliant verse, because I'm not really a fan of his at all, and that makes the fact that his verse is one of my favourites on the album a real bolt from the blue. He manages to convey the bitter monster persona more successfully than Kanye, and Catchy barely even covers his verse. He seems to be looking at the state of his life and his influence on today's hip-hop artist, as well as all the lawyers and things involved with his art that he's made millionaires. His disillusionment here is fantastic. Great verses, great beat, great hook, great featuring. Now if we can just end it there, we'll have a standout track. Hold on. What's this? Nicki goddamn fucking Minaj. She vomits forth a collection of asinine phrases about how great she is. You're not Nicki. Bad Nicki. Bad Nicki for thinking you're great. And bad Kanye for featuring her. Twice. Well, in all seriousness, it's not even that much of a bad verse. I do hate her, don't get me wrong, but as Nicki verses go, this is quite good. It's catchy, her voice doesn't get too annoying, and considering it's her we're talking about, I would consider that a AAA success. Track 7, So Appalled. The first unpleasant sounding thing on the entire album. We've had the catchiness and brilliant sampling of King Crimson by Power, and the brilliant gospel choir of Dark Fantasy, so the bad egg had to turn up soon. Alas, we find it here in a sample provided by someone with a laughable name of Swizz Beatz. 3 Zs. It's alright. Go on Wikipedia, count them. There are 3 Zs in that name. Then again, in a genre that includes someone with the name Waka Flocka Flame, why the hell am I even surprised? The lyrics do have their ups and downs, but the ups are truly great, and this particular gem highlights Kanye's growing disillusionment with fame. Whereas Monster might have felt bitter, this track is downright vitriolic. Kanye just seems to be tired and weary on this song. The most enthusiasm is put into the hook, which is in turn the most scathing lyrics in the song. However, this to me is also Kanye, Jay-Z and Pusha T fighting back against all the people who might have once shot them down. They might seem arrogant, but with the beats, production and irresistible catchiness of the rapping, it's nigh on impossible not to cheer them on. So, on to track 8, Devil in a New Dress. Do I even need to compliment the instrumentation and production? We get it, Kanye. You make ear candy. God, I almost want him to make something shit so I have the right to take something away for production, but we know he won't. He'll produce great sounding song after great sounding song, and we'll be left with all this music that's a joy to listen to. God damn you, Kanye. I love Kanye's verses in this song, and for pure lyricism, this is one of my favourite on the entire album. He talks about an attractive woman and how the two of them have this sexually charged relationship. However, the paradise deteriorates quickly though. She gets jealous and begins to throw things around, she makes a snide quip at him and he brushes it off as loving a sense of humour. He accuses her of being phony after saying she loves him. This is Kanye's strength on the LP, when his rapping is about the bitterness of his life rather than the luxury of it. I enjoy hearing about this side of Kanye's life and I enjoyed this song as a result. I'd rather not have had the loudmouth verse from Rick Ross, but it does do its job, and it's hard not to enjoy the big bombast the man adds to the track. Track 9, Runaway. I mean, wow. Really, wow, because with this 9-minute beast, Kanye's given us the best song on the album so far. It's better than All the Lights, it's better than Monster, it's even better than Dark Fantasy and Power. This track has these piano keys running all the way through it that just seem to weep. We have synth, catchy beats, strings, and Kanye's great verses in this song, turning it into a full-on hip-hop symphony that, although more minimalist than tracks like All the Lights and Dark Fantasy, it still feels like the grandest song on offer so far. This track has the most scathing look at Kanye's ego on the whole LP. He doesn't hold anything back here, he's painfully open and brutally honest. This segment perfectly sums this up. Kanye is acknowledging that when this album had come out, we had been putting up with this shit for far too long. I don't know about you, but I got sick of hearing about his latest puerile exploit in the news. Kanye later talks about sending a girl a picture of his dick. If he's not going to sugarcoat it, then I'm sure as shit not going to do it either. Now back to it. He sends her this picture and then claims he's no good with women. It doesn't seem crass though, this seems like someone who's beaten down, and this is where the album's at its strongest, when Kanye is literally claiming that everyone knows he's good at blame shirking. I like hearing Kanye vulnerable and weak, because it has a hell of a lot more substance and meaning than any hip-hop boasting. Or then again, maybe I'm just a sadistic weirdo, I don't know. They're both as likely as the other. Another great thing about this track is that I even really like the featuring, a part of this album which has probably troubled me the most so far. Pusha T talks about the flurry of women that want him for his money, and it's remarkable that his verse doesn't end up sounding like whinging, which he should be commended for. He ends the verse lamenting the fact that he's young, rich and tasteless, and the tasteless part feels especially apt considering the women he just talked about. Kanye's second verse seems to deal more with his relationship with the public, which is summed up as a person, at least that's what it says to me. Kanye claims that he knows he did damage because the look in this person's eyes is killing him. He claims that he knows this person has an advantage because they can blame everything on him, but that he wouldn't know what to do if they left. I think this is Kanye acknowledging that the public's opinions and outrage about Kanye keep him relevant when he's not making music. This is Kanye realising that he couldn't live on without the public, that he often annoys so much. Now, the final part of this song has Kanye's voice warped beyond all recognition. The hook can vaguely be heard being repeated over and over, and the effect is genuinely stunning. To me, at least, this is the best part of the track. It makes a sorrowful, regretful end to a near-perfect song. Track 10, Hell of a Life. Kanye, be goddamn thankful the last song was so great, and the hook on this song is as catchy as balls, because I could never normally tolerate lyrics about a fling with a fucking porn star. I don't know. Maybe it's because as much as I want to love him, I know that Kanye's an arsehole, but I just can't take this song seriously. However, I think that's actually one of its best points. It's fun as hell, and there are some lyrics in there that are so crass you just have to smile, including a pun about a nun having an orgasm. I know it's hardly wit of Oscar Wildean heights, but for God's sake, I'm only human. However, the lyrics in this song do have one big saving grace, and that's this. This once again makes it seem like Kanye isn't actually being as direct as the lyrics might suggest. This just sounds sad and pathetic, really. And although it's a hell of a lot less obvious than it is in other songs like Runaway, I think Kanye knows it too. Well done, you shifty bastard, you win again. Track 11, Blame Game. So far, this album has sampled King Crimson and Bon Iver's Justin Vernon as sung and will again. So these aren't names you usually associate with hip-hop, and this song continues that trend. Aphex Twin's Avril 14th is in this song. So, how do you make that sound good? Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. First things first, if you don't know Aphex Twin, go and punch yourself in the face, okay? Now go and look him up. Right, so now I can assume you know Aphex Twin by googling him or training in the mountains or whatever, and have listened to Avril 14th. So, returning to my initial question, I ask you, how do you make that sound good in a Kanye West song? Well, Kanye makes it sound good. In fact, he makes it sound pretty damn great. The concept of this song is an unhappy relationship, and I think it's handled much better here than it was in All the Light. I really found myself interested in the concept of Blame Game. I also love the fact that the woman in this song could be a metaphor for fame or the public. Once again, Kanye's playing his cards close to his chest, and it's great to witness. One of my favourite features of this song is a really cool production trick. When Kanye's talking and rapping, his voice becomes distorted, and it switches from headphone cup to headphone cup, and it sounds truly like a man's distressed thoughts communicating with one another. It's panicked, frantic and claustrophobic, and the repeating hook by John Legend is one of the best on the entire album. It sounds so disillusioned and sincere, and I don't even think I need to mention how catchy it is, it's just fantastic. Now the next part about this track is quite tricky. As you may or may not have gathered about me, I'm a very big fan of storytelling in music. Concept albums, concept songs such as Blame Game, I really like them. Now, a comparison that I think is quite apt here is Kendrick Lamar's 2012 LP, Good Kid, Mad City, specifically the third song, Backseat Freestyle. I usually would absolutely hate that form of braggadocious hip-hop, however, considering the story behind that is that it's a young Kendrick Lamar in the backseat of his friend's car, rapping to try and appear like a big, hard man, I really like that track. So, the next part of the of Blame Game is when Kanye says that his girlfriend's phone accidentally calls him and he hears her with another man. And this is provided as a skit by Chris Rock. Now, the skit itself is very much unfunny for the most part. I did like the bit where he said that he was going to go out and buy Kanye's album and shoot a bootlegger and download it because he was so thankful. But I just can't forgive it for the most part. Now, when I say I can't forgive it, I mean I specifically can't forgive what's being said. Don't get me wrong, I don't care how much Kanye talks about sex, but I don't mind it when Kanye does it. I don't particularly like Chris Rock, and just the fact that he's saying all this stuff and it goes on for so long, it just seems like an attempt at humour which doesn't really mesh with me. I mean, it is part of the song, it is part of the story, rather, so I can forgive it for that. I do like it, I like what it represents to me, which is Yeezy, the person who taught the girl all these great sexual acts in the actual skit. That's to me, Kanye showing how he ruins people and how people should stay away from him. But, at the same time, I didn't not enjoy listening to it, because, you know, it sounds good, it sounds like it's over the phone, I like that, but certainly not on par with the rest of the lyrics on this album, so although I'm not going to criticise this track for the presence of the skit, it does prevent it becoming a highlight, whereas it would have been one if it had a shorter, better thought out skit. Tracks 12 and 13, Lost in the World and Who Will Survive in America. Now, there's not a lot I can say about these songs, it's incredibly difficult for me to vocalise my thoughts on them. I could talk about the excellent production, the masterful sampling of Bon Iver's Woods, and Justin Vernon's other contributions to Lost in the World. And if we're talking about sampling, I could talk about the thought-provoking sample of Gil Scott-Heron in Who Will Survive in America. I could also talk about the earworm beats and hooks, or the production, which is incidentally the best on the entire album. I could talk about the cacophony, which makes All the Lights look about as eventful as Old Dreams Waiting to be Realised by The Knife. I could also talk about Kanye's elating lyrics about breaking free from something mundane to make something beautiful. I could talk about Gil Scott-Heron's contrasting dark verses about the problems of living in America as a young black man. However, I'm not going to talk about any of these things. Suffice to say that Lost in the World and Who Will Survive in America feel like the perfect end to this album. I seriously can't think of a better way to close it. We've had the dark in the form of Runaway, we've had the twisted with Monster, we've had Kanye tricking himself in a fantasy with Hell of a Life, and at the end of this album, we finally and truly have the beautiful. These tracks make sure you don't leave this album with any ill will, any sadness or any bitterness, because when you listen to the final minutes of this LP, it seems impossible that anyone would feel anything other than euphoria. At least that's what I think. Well done, Kanye. You laid your beautiful, dark, twisted fantasy bare for us, and I assure you it was every bit as dark, every bit as twisted, and certainly every bit as beautiful as we all expected. Listening experience. I think I've made it more than clear that I'm a very big fan of Kanye's production. There's nothing on this album that I didn't enjoy listening to. The only thing that I didn't completely love were the first few lines of So Appalled, and I still don't feel like that was even enough to take a single point away from this album, because it was 2 seconds. And even the Chris Rock skit, as I said, sounded cool. It was distorted like it was over the phone. It sounded good. This album is stuffed with variety, cacophony, instrumentation, and, in keeping with the man himself, excess. This thing could easily still be a brilliant LP if all the lyrics were taken out and we just had the dense, thick, and infinitely complex production of the instrumentation, and this is one of the few albums I can give, and feel justified in doing so, a perfect score for listening experience. 45 out of 45. Lyrical content. Now this is tricky, because I feel like the album still eludes me in many areas, even after so many listens. I consider new meanings, new metaphors, and new themes with every different listen, and when all's said and done, isn't that what great lyrics do? Make you truly think about something? I mean, once again, I would like to give this album a perfect score in this area. Even the lyrics on So Appalled feel intrinsically coy to me. Even the boasting on Monster can always be explained and justified by a new outside force every time I hear it. However, ultimately, what I would like is irrelevant, and it all comes down to how I truly feel about this album, and unlike with listening experience, I don't feel like I'm justified in giving it a perfect score. Even if it can make me think, there's always something I think that could be put better, always a metaphor which I think is a bit too outlandish even for me. I can't help but feel like I sometimes grasp at straws trying to vindicate this thing of the sins that I can't deny it commits in places, no matter how infrequently. So for these reasons, I'm going to have to deduct what I consider to be a hefty 5 from this album in lyrical content. Sorry Kanye, next time don't call Chris rock. 35 out of 40. Fluency. Now, for all its variety, this album is incredibly fluid, each track bounces off the next well, and my only quibble is not with the tracks themselves, my only problem is the choice to put Hell of a Life after Runaway. The least serious track on this album is after the most serious, and that's a choice I have to disagree with. However, that is a very minor issue, and it doesn't take away from the joy of the listening experience. Still though, that still gets in the way of me giving this another perfect score, so I'm going to have to take one off. It's damn close though. 9 out of 10. Meaning, if my calculations are correct, and they're usually not, that My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy has scored 94 marks out of 100, and this gives out of 100 its second classic. My standouts on this album would be Dark Fantasy, Power, Monster, Runaway, and Lost in the World. These are the best of a great bunch, and if you'd like a snapshot of the album's highlights, give these a listen. Still though, the whole thing is a complete standout in itself, and one that I can't recommend highly enough. Well, that's it for this review. Leave us a comment below to let us know what rating you'd give My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy out of 100. And be sure to subscribe to us so you don't miss a review. We also have an official Facebook page, so like that too if you want to see some more album reviews. An MP3 of this video is also available on our SoundCloud. And, if you've got a free minute, why not swing by our website? It's got all of our reviews including a scoreboard. We've even included bios of me and Johnny for all you lovely people. Want to know what makes he and I musically tick? Want to know what's currently blasting through our speakers? That's your bestest and onlyest place to find out. So, the next review will be Buzz by Steps. Thanks for the watch, and we hope to see you then. Two, Gorgeous. 3, Power. 4, All of the Lights Interlude, and 5, All of the Lights. 6, Monster. 7, So Appalled. 8, Devil in a New Dress. 9, Runaway. 10, Hell of a Life. 11, Blame Game. 12, Lost in the World. And 13, Who Will Survive in America. The genre is hip-hop and it was released in November 2010. Now, let's get to it. Album cover. Now, first off, I don't like the fact that this cover gets replaced by the ballerina cover so frequently. We don't have any time for any kind of censorship on this channel, and if you're offended by this image, go and type in Death Grips. No, for those of you who don't know, Kanye went up on stage and interrupted the producer of some of the most avant-garde musical masterpieces of our generation, Taylor Swift, when she was receiving an award. I'll give you the abridged version. Arsehole interrupts idiot with something idiotic at some idiotic music awards, and there you have it. Anyway, this album is almost universally beloved by critics, and has appeared on numerous Best of 2010 lists. It's seen as more of an analysis of his ego and the concept and effects of fame, rather than just another formulaic hip-hop outing in which the artist strives to tell us how many prostitutes he had sex with his penis, which he swears is over 14 inches even in the coldest weather. The track list is 1. Dark Fantasy, first of many critical and commercial successes for the rapper. Kanye's albums have often received acclaim, and even his least lauded effort, 2008's electropop autotune album, 808s and Heartbreak, still received a very warm reception. Kanye has often been noted for his fantastic production, as well as his innovation and creativity in his work. Be it the overblown maximalism of this record, or the Death Grips-esque industrial flavour of this year's Yeezus, Kanye has always seemed to be able to produce catchy songs, while retaining a high degree of ingenuity and artistic integrity. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is widely considered to be Kanye's masterpiece, and it came as a result of his self-imposed exile after the fiasco at the 2009 MTV Music Awards in the middle of what seemed to be a meltdown for Kanye. Welcome to Albums Out of 100. This is a music review channel where albums are given a standardised mark, unsurprisingly, out of 100. And yes, it is I. Ready your hate mail, for I have returned. You're currently listening to a review of the album My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West. The album is available on Spotify, so if you want to listen along with the review, give it a search there. And remember, what follows is all true and has been proven by science. Well, I mean, it was homeopathy, but I think I can still count that. The artist is Kanye West, and I honestly don't think I have to introduce him to all of you, but I'm going to do it anyway. He first came to prominence as the producer of Jay-Z's critically acclaimed album, The Blueprint, and his first effort as a rapper, The College Dropout, was the first of deep web into Google. Go on, I'll wait for you. Yes, you did just see the album title written on a man's erect penis, so it could be a lot worse. Anyway, back on with the review. Now, considering the image that Kanye gives on this LP, which is drinking, sex and general excess, I think this complements the album perfectly. Even the regal deep red and gold trimming hints at luxury and opulence. However, the image in the middle is distinctly bitter, it isn't pleasant, and it does look quite sad. I don't think the Kanye on this cover, despite his toothy grin, is a happy one. This really is his dark, twisted fantasy, as it were. 5 out of 5. Listening experience and lyrical analysis.